Harmony Hills Family Ministry Podcast. I'm your host, Traci Hall, and today I have with me co-host and pastor of the pod, Ben Stokes.
Present.
And my dear friend, Mandy Bostwick. Just to give you a little intro for them, Ben is our associate pastor.
That's right.
Been here 11 years.
Been here 11 years.
That's
11
amazing.
strong.
Yeah. You have 2 boys.
That's right. Ty and Jet.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. 5 and 11.
Awesome.
Jet's the younger.
Yeah.
Ty's the older.
Jet's pretty amazing, like memorizing verses, right? We've seen that recently.
He is smart like his mom,
Yeah.
for sure.
That's awesome.
Definitely.
Speaking of mom, how long y'all been married?
We have been married 20 years.
Wow.
Yep.
That's
So,
amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to the wisdom that you have to share with us today.
Well, I look forward to seeing how that plays out.
And then, Mandy, I have been wanting to get together with you for years now because you have 2 of the sweetest girls I've ever met.
Aw,
And
thank you.
for years, I've said, I need to sit down with her and know, like, how did she do that? And so I'm really excited that I get to do it and that it's recorded for our
All to
families
see.
to see. Yeah. So I'm really excited. So you have 3 kids, right?
Yes.
Tell me
3.
about them.
Okay, so Ian, 20, Grayson, 18, Ian's at A&M, Grayson's at Colorado State, and then Kanan, 14, still at the house and homeschooled.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
it's crazy. I mean, we only have 1 at home.
Yeah. You're almost an empty nester.
So weird, yes.
Oh.
I can't imagine the transition
I know.
from having a house just full of kids.
And they,
then
at that age, they
just
bring
one.
all their kids over, their friends over, and then all of a sudden you're like,
Where'd they
me
all
and
go?
Monty and Kanan.
Oh, yeah.
So weird.
That's
Aw.
crazy.
Yeah,
It
it is.
is.
So how long have you and Monty been married?
27.
27
7.
years.
Yeah, 27 years. It's crazy. I
Yeah.
can't believe it.
That's so cool. I feel like an amateur with 12 years.
And that's a long time, though. I
It
remember
is.
even like getting past 5, 6, you're like, oh,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's getting real.
I was told that once you make it through year 1, you're good. But
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
There's other years.
Who was that person
Yeah.
that told you that?
I don't know. I don't remember. Okay. So for
Well, wait. I got to introduce you as the host of this that
Okay.
many people don't realize, man, you're no joke, man.
What do you
Like,
mean?
I mean, of all the things that you've been here for 4 years.
Yeah.
Serving in the high school ministry, serving with the girls. You graduated from Southwestern with your biblical counseling degree, right?
Something like that. Yeah. Master of Art in Christian
Master of
Education.
Art. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
And but what's awesome is, Mandy, I don't know if you knew this, that she's an author, and I joke about this all the
gosh.
time, but it's true.
Yes.
She writes
My
for
girls told me.
Lifeway.
Oh, you still write even more.
Yeah, she does. She
Not
writes
just the
for
one book.
Lifeway, and
Wow.
she's also leads a mastermind cohort for women leading in student ministry. So it takes a mastermind to lead the masterminds. And this is the host we have. So I mean, I just want everybody to know that, hey man, Tracy's a big deal.
Oh,
And she really is a blessing
We're
to
so
the
thankful
staff.
for you.
And recently she has transitioned to broadened her role as kind of a curriculum coordinator for our ministries, and helps us stay on the same page as where we're going and what we're learning together as ministries, and just a huge blessing to the staff. And I look forward to being here on these podcasts with you and learning from you.
Yeah.
For real.
Well,
It's gonna be a good time.
that's very kind of you to say. I don't even know where to go from here. So feel a
You're a
little
mastermind.
awkward.
You'll figure it out.
Feel a little awkward, but thank you, Ben. That's very, very kind of you. All right, so we have 2 kind of segments for the podcast today. The first one I'm going to call Family Meeting. We're just going to talk about the Connect 4 challenge that we've had going on and connection points that we've been sending home with parents. And so, Mandy, feel free to jump in anytime you want.
Okay.
But for Connect 4, Ben, we are about to wrap up our last round of it. What is one of your favorite stories that you've heard come from it so far?
Yeah, one of the favorite stories that I've heard was just from a church member that, like most of us, we sometimes we struggle to find time to connect with our families, and that's obviously the name being Connect 4. That's what the whole purpose of this is to just give our families tools and the opportunity to connect with each other. And I know even embarking on that seems overwhelming to a lot of families. Mm-hmm. And so I did hear of one couple who wanted to do it, but just felt daunting. They just took the leap and took the step and did it. And over time, it didn't take long, and they realized, hey, we can have family time. Mm-hmm. We can meet together we can do this. And it's just stories like that where you hear families that have that desire, but for various reasons just haven't taken that step to be intentional in meeting together and spending time together. And that was one of them that they did, and they saw the benefits of it, and they realized, hey, I can do this, and they continued through that. And I know that's a foundation that will go even further in that family. And so that's one of them, and that's really the reason why we did that. And so I'm so excited to hear that was a reality for that family. And I pray it's a reality for many more.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I've enjoyed sitting at the table or standing at the table on Sunday mornings, and we've had single moms and their kids come by, and older couples that don't have kids at home come by and put stickers on the board because they've tried it out. And so it's been just really cool just to see people's excitement about it.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, and that was the point, right? Is to so many times I think that when you start talking about family discipleship, it's like this Everest of a mountain that you have to climb because of whatever reason. But to hear those families just like, okay, I'm gonna, even if it's one step, I'm taking it, and seeing them do that has been really cool.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's been exciting for us. You know, it's so exciting to see you guys like this, just coming up with this idea to rally around each other and support each other and stepping out, you know, because we just cannot take for granted the existence of our churches. You know,
Right.
I that's what I kind of saw from you guys doing that was like, wow, like in homeschool, for instance, you know, we've talked a lot about Europe, and there's so many churches that they're like bed and breakfast, and they're restaurants. Like, they're completely void of being a body of Christ anymore, you know? And that happens, you know, just one little step at a time. You know, you get to this little compromise and this little compromise. And before long, you know, your church is no longer concerned with spiritual disciplines. Well, your family, you're not promoting it in the families first. And then so that reflects in the church. And I see that in America already, these little compromises that have been made. And we have these church bodies where there just is no spiritual discipline, or even where doctrine doesn't really matter anymore. And that's scary. And so it's exciting to see the healthiness of our church body and watching it take place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's been one of the goals for this too, is for parents to realize, like, yes, it seems daunting when we say, hey, go disciple your kids at home. And they're like, I don't have a seminary degree. But if we can supply them with the tools that they need, and if we can get 1% progress from our families, that's still progress, and that's still something to be celebrated, and that's something that can be built on. I'm just excited about where we've started and where we're going with that.
Yeah, and I think it also serves as a deeper level, right? Because it is so vital that we have spiritually healthy families, but one of our visions is to have spiritually healthy leaders as well. And it also goes to the core of that, because when you look at leadership, if you're not right in the family, it will spill out into your workplace and into other spheres and circles of your life. And so it's just, the family unit is so important, and it truly affects every aspect of our life, because when we're not healthy as a family, it just impacts every circle. And obviously it starts with our relationship with God and then relationship to our family. So it's an exciting thing to talk about.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure. Our next one is going to start in October, for Missions Month. And I'm excited because this first board was easy on purpose for families to...
We're bumping it up a notch?
We're bumping it up a
Challenge.
notch. Yeah.
I like a challenge.
So, you know, it was like discussion questions are right there, 4 in a row, answer these questions, not threatening. Now it's kind of mixed up because we are focusing on engaging our neighbors and serving out of our overflow from our love of Christ in the home. There's a lot of challenges for reaching the community. And so I'm excited. I'm excited to see how we change and how our families change, how the community changes because of this.
Awesome. When does that come out?
The first weekend of October.
First weekend of October.
Yeah.
All right.
Just come out with
I'll tell
missions.
Jet and Ty, get ready.
Yeah.
Challenge is coming.
Yeah. My kids, for this one that we have going on right now, every week they're like, we're baking cookies, right? To take them to first responders.
Like,
and
we love this.
And that happens, right? Is that the parents might want to, like, okay, I don't know if I can do that.
Right.
But now that the kids have gotten a taste, they're just like, hey, we're doing it.
Once a week.
Yeah,
Once a week.
We started rolling down the hill.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
So true.
That's cool.
So I don't remember if it's on the second board, but I think the Hall family will be baking cookies soon because
All right.
we haven't gotten to it yet. So, all right. So Connect 4, it's going well. Something that parents might have seen recently come from kids ministry and middle school ministry and high school ministry are connection points. And I just want to take a minute just to talk about those, encourage parents to look for those. So, Mandy, have you seen these? I'm putting you on the spot a little bit. Have
No,
you
I'm
seen
glad
these
you
come
put me on
home?
the spot, because even if I haven't, I'll just be honest with you. Well, I have seen them on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you mean?
Yes.
And we actually do that. So
good.
So we have
So when
a
you say
family.
we do that,
That's what I was about to say. We
Okay.
have a family fun night.
Uh-huh.
And like we talked about at the beginning of the podcast, it's me and Monty and Kanan now.
Oh.
Right? And so it's a little bit smaller.
different.
The fun is, getting smaller. No, it's still great. It's great. So we have actually lately been just reading through those and asking those questions. And it's good
fun.
for us too,
Yeah.
So I do know.
That's awesome. I
good.
love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the whole purpose of these is for parents to be able to know how to talk to their kids about the lessons and things that they've learned on Sunday mornings. My children are 8 and 10, and they love to say, I don't know what we learned. And I'm like, come on, give me something.
Right.
Just a little bit. One
Right.
time Remy said I was like a king with a really long name. I don't know. And I'm like, oh, okay, let's. So connection points help me to know what to ask. And then for somebody who doesn't have a seminary degree, it's like, now you know where to go from here as well. So
those are offered in the children's ministry and the youth.
student ministry,
And the student ministry, and those are sent home every week.
They are sent home. Middle school ministry and high school ministry, they're emailed if the parents sign up for an email,
Gotcha.
and they're also on Facebook.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they're separate. Middle school and high school are
They
different,
are
right?
separate. Yeah, they're doing different curriculums right now, so they're separate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just another way that like another tool that families can use along with the Connect 4 is to discuss what they're learning on Sundays as a family.
Yeah.
So yeah, Jed has brought him home, and we walk through them.
Yeah.
He's that kid where it's run, sit
fun.
down, and we're all going to gather around, and
Yeah.
he's going to walk us through it. So
It's-
it's been helpful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is he the future pastor of the pod?
I would not say that. I would not go that far to say that. Way too soon to tell.
Gotcha. Gotcha. All right. Well, that's all I have for the family meeting segment of the podcast today. Let's move. If y'all don't have anything else, let's move to the family chat segment. Y'all
Let's
good with
go.
that?
Good
All
Ready
right.
with
to
it.
chat
Let's
it
do
up.
it.
Let's do
What are we
it.
chatting about?
Ephesians 5:22 through 6:4. This is a bit of a daunting topic. It can be for some people, but Pastor Todd just preached about this a couple weeks ago.
That was really good.
It was.
It was.
It was really good.
Yeah, I appreciate it and enjoyed it and got a lot from it. Before we talk about Ephesians 5, though, what I would like to do is kind of take a step back and set the stage for why God created man and woman, and then what his purpose were for them to be together. So God created Adam to be in relationship with him, to work the ground. God saw that Adam was alone and said, this is not good. He needs a helper, right? Bro, you need some help. So Adam, God put Adam to sleep, took his rib from his side to create a woman. I've always wondered why God didn't just create Eve. Why did he have to put Adam to sleep? But I think that it is because God wanted to illustrate that man and woman are to be in partnership together as husband and wife. And this is the best way that I like to kind of work out why he gave us different roles. So my youngest daughter likes to come home and say, I'm line leader this week. And I'm like, okay, cool. Congratulations. You get to open the doors. But then I think, why is her teacher making these tasks such a big deal? And it's because she wants the kids to not fight about what they're supposed to do, right? They have clearly defined roles so that when it's time to go, you say, Remy's the line leader, line up behind Remy. And I think God in his kindness said, they're going to fight about this.
He knows us well.
Yes. So I'm going to give them clearly defined roles, not to make one higher than the other or one lower than the other, but in their partnership, I'm going to define this for them to make it work better for them. And so I just love that and appreciate that so much. And so I've taught this passage before, Ephesians 5. I've taught it to girls before, and I had to start there. I couldn't not start there because it's so important to realize it's God's kindness that he says, you are the leader and you are the follower. And so with that, let's jump into, actually, Ben, You and I had a previous conversation, and you told me about a concept that Timothy Keller pointed out in Scripture. Can you explain that concept for us?
Yeah, I mean, it has to do with what you're talking about, and that being the headship and bodyship, right? Is that in the creation account, and I think it is vital that we don't miss the fact. See, I think what a lot of times that we start off at is looking at the family unit, and we start with Adam and Eve. That's where we're starting.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not that. It's actually why before that, the author of this whole story, that being God, obviously, why he created, and he was creating everything purposely. It all flowed together, and then he created man differently. It was not like just robots out of the ground. He created him differently. He created him with his word and wrapped flesh. And so also after he created them, he gave them an assignment, both of them at that point, Adam and Eve, like you mentioned, they are together. There is this partnership. And he gave them a mission to go be fruitful and multiply, which is essentially, hey, you exist for my glory. You reflect me. So together you do have different roles, but your ultimate role, you're equal in the task of making my name known to all the world. You're equal in that. You're both made in God's image. You're both worth the same. Like, and I think that is what we have to keep in mind, even thinking about the family unit and who does what and that sort of thing. Role doesn't equal equality. Role does not equal worth. It just doesn't.
No.
You exist for the same thing, which is for the glory of God. And I think that is what is at the heart of it. And we see this this is the question you were asking. Sorry to take so long to come around. But so we see this played out because it is as we're going to see, it is a mystery. The gospel is a mystery. And when Paul is describing this in Ephesians, he uses this mystery to explain marriage. And so as he's doing this, he uses the gospel, which is Philippians 2, where Jesus, he submitted to God. He didn't have to submit to God. He did submit to God to come down and serve the church and serve and save our souls. And then we see in Ephesians 5 where God is the head. Now we know that is God and Jesus equal? Yes. They're serving two different roles. We see Jesus being the servant, where he is submitting himself to God for a role. And then we see God as the head in Ephesians 5, and he has a role, but they're still equal. They're still existing for their own glory. And I think that's something that we have to keep in mind as we walk through Ephesians, is that role does not mean equal worth. And we all exist for the glory of God. And even in marriage, and I'm sure this is about to come up, the second that in my marriage, the way in my relationship with Melissa, the second that I turn inward, the second where I go, well, I'm not getting what I want. Like, I need to do this, or man, things just aren't going my way, or this isn't fair. Well, I'm already derailing, where my joy and Melissa's joy, because neither one of us exist for our own joy. We exist for the glory of God. And so I think that's a good umbrella to wrap this conversation around.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, that is good.
Are you ready to jump into some tough questions then?
Yeah, go for it,
Let's
man.
go for it. All right, so what do these things look like when they are practically lived out in the home? The man being the leader, the wife submitting. What does it look like?
It looks right and divine.
Yeah.
Right? It just doesn't always look like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it doesn't.
so
And it's something that's a really good question of what does it look like. And I think that you look at the way, I always look at the way that how Jesus loved and cared for me. Like me as a wretched sinner, me as spitting in his face, me as the hardest person to love. In his grace, he served and we're all that wretched, and he showed us all that love, and modeling that, which I don't know how practical you want to go, but so I'll go there.
So practical.
I am this goes to a wider conversation probably of like the role of a man in a home and the role of a woman in a home. This is probably not stereotypical, and probably most people that are listening to this are going to think I'm lying, but I am the dishwasher at our house, and not that Melissa doesn't wash dishes, she does, but primarily I don't mind doing that. And there's some days where, it's just like coming home from work, but because I care about her, because I know that she has had a rough day with the kids, that she's been home investing in the kids all day, that she's been giving everything she has to them, it's a way that I can show that I support her in her role. And so to me, that's what a practical way that servant leadership looks like. I don't have to do it, nor does she have to invest in the children. She doesn't have to do that. But on her side, that is that supporting me, that helper of me, is that for me is because we made the decision, and I affirm it, that we want to raise godly kids. And so she is way more skilled than me in teaching, has way more patience than me in teaching. And so obviously she's going to take on that role. But just me not being there doesn't mean that my authority is not there, but she is helping that. And I think that's what partnership looks like, is knowing when to serve, when do you wash the dishes, when does she need to jump in and help. And again, if I go in and go, man, I cannot believe I'm having to wash these dishes. It's about me again. Like I mentioned a minute ago, it's turning self instead of, and she is casting the image of God in the hearts of these kids. That's what she's been doing. This is the way that I can support her. And so it's like, I hope I've kind of described the teamwork of where we know we need
and
to go.
Peace. When you say those things, I think about, and then in your home, there's an atmosphere of peace, and that's what we really want, peace.
For sure.
And so when we serve each other, it's so much to me, all service, that we begin to feel the peace from that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's just go to the next question. I had a thought, but I think it's going to go better with another question.
All right, or just jump in the thought.
No, yeah.
Go for
I
it.
can't jump around too much. I get off track. But are there situations when it's okay for a wife to not submit to her husband? Right? If the wife is to submit to her husband, are there situations where it's like, actually, you don't need to do that?
I'd
be interested to hear Mandy's
my take on it.
Yeah, her take
I love
on
being
this.
up here with the seminary people. I'm like, let me see here. For sure. First, yes, the Holy Spirit is in me. You're right. I didn't mean to downplay him. But
I never said that.
No, I know you didn't. I know. I just
No, go for it.
I think it's
You
just
got this,
because of my,
Mandy.
yeah, I got this. Oh, sorry. Anyhow, okay, the question was,
When is it
not
okay for you to not submit to your husband?
I would think definitely anything that goes against the word, right? I mean, there's lots of times, and I think that is one of the reasons why, at least for me, as a woman, that I can see how really strong unwillingness to submit at all comes from these places where there's been abuse and all of these things. And it's like, that's hard. And so their view of it is tainted, and that's horrible. And that's not Jesus.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why I asked this question at the front, is because there are women who are in abusive situations who could listen to this podcast and think, are you for real? I have to submit in all these ways. But I just wanted to get it out there from the beginning that abuse is not allowed. You are also made in the image of God, and he cannot treat you that way. The other one I would say is don't follow him into sin, right? So when I talked about biblical womanhood with the teenage girls earlier in the year, I said, if my husband comes home and says, load up, honey, we're going to rob a bank, I'm like, who's we? I ain't driving that getaway car. And so those are the two situations where it's like, I'm sorry, like this is not okay. Other than that, I think for me, this kind of goes to both questions. I want my husband to hear, well done, good and faithful servant. And God has put him over our household and over me. He's the leader of us. And so why would I make that hard on him? Right? Also, I get a little bit of a free pass if things go wrong. I'm like, yeah, well, you're the leader. Good luck with that. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
It is so hard though, because Pastor Todd's sermon about all our roles, it's beautiful. It's important. We need to know exactly how the Creator designed each male and female and what our role is so that we can have peace, so that we can thrive in our family unit, so that we can do our roles well. But the hard thing is that, we live in the already, but the not yet, right? And so for Monty, we were talking about the ways we struggle. And so for Monty, he said, I think that it's because when I tend to be passive, it's hard for me when you call me out, And so that challenges him. But then for me, when he has done something well and it's not enough, it's like, oh. And so I just see that I'm glad. I want to know our roles. It's so important, but it's so challenging, that friction that lies in the place that we live here as believers, where we already have the victory in Christ and we can walk in those roles, kind of like you were saying in Genesis. God created male and female to rule and to reign with him over creation. And then when Adam and Eve rebelled, we turned and we began to want to rule and reign over one another. And so that comes into play in the midst of a desire to truly follow after Christ in our roles. And so it's kind of messy.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it can be. And that's what's I think that's what's so sanctifying about it, is that marriage truly is sanctifying and makes us more like Christ. And it's just in the wisdom of God, is that's why we were created, to reflect him. And even in that, we're showing a picture to the world of this is what living for Christ looks like, as the man steps into the headship and the woman the bodyship, and working together. And you learn how to do that. I mean, you're 27 years, I'm 20 years in, you're 12, and it's like each year I'm still learning about what does it look like to lead and to serve Melissa. And I think that's a lot of, that's what's hard for, I'm just speaking for the guys, is that I think it's so easy to become passive. Because there's so much, especially in today's world. Like, you go to work and there's tasks. You go to work and you have to invest in people. You have to do this, and then like your kids might be on a sports team, a soccer team, and you're having to go and invest in those kids. And then you come home and then you're just like, man, I feel like I've done this. I feel like I've dropped all these different spheres. You just wake up each day going, who am I going to disappoint today? And then over time, I think a lot of guys have just been like, I can't do it. And so I think that's the role of it. I think that's how that is the role of a helper for the wife, is to go, because trust me, as a man, there is nothing more encouraging when Melissa comes and says, you can do this. You can do this. And I think that's a good place to start for a lot of families. I got off track a little bit, but just spinning off what Mandy was saying is sometimes you just got to call a spade a spade and go, hey, here's where we're at, and this is where this is how I'm feeling. I want to do this. I want to lead my family. And just if it's the husband, to be honest with the wife and go, hey, I've dropped the ball on this, but I want to do it. Will you help me?
That communication together, just constantly.
I think it's, because you're always, you don't want to, no one likes to fail.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I mean, none of us are batting 1,000. We get a little better every day.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's good. It is messy. And you kind of led us to the next thing is, what does a husband do if he's doing all of that and he's burnt out and his wife just doesn't want to submit or follow his lead? How does he handle that?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a good question. I think that at that time, the husband should, and I know it's basic, but I would ask him, how much have you been praying for your wife? Because that is, you pray, have patience, be hopeful, be full of longing and pray for her. The second thing is I would have patience with her, and to remember that you were that person. I was that person at one time that did not want to obey God. And then I would remember what my path was like to know God, and then sprinkle in moments in the week to where she knows that I'm praying for her. And like Christ did me, over the top radical love of seeing what she values, if it's time, if it's chores, if it's whatever it is, and go over the top and loving her, and just remind her that the reason why you're loving her is because of the love that Christ has shown you. And at the end of the day, that's all you can do is pray and serve. And I know that I say have patience because I've never been in that scenario, but I can't imagine how hard it would be to love someone that is not receiving that. So, and I guess with that would be to have some guys around you that you can share your frustrations with and your pain with, so it just doesn't overtake you, so you don't isolate, because you won't last long if you isolate. So have a community around you.
Yeah, that's good. That's some wisdom, Ben. I like
That
that.
was good.
Mandy, let's flip it.
Okay.
What does the wife do if she wants to submit, but her husband isn't leading? How does she handle that?
I think very similar to what you said, Ben. I think that you would just continue to do the things that you know to do that are biblical, to just continue walking with him and loving that man, even though he's not doing anything. And I can't remember the verse, but where it talks about, and this is more in a man who isn't a believer, that you just continue to, what I'm talking about. It's not coming to me. Yes, that you just continue to, and kind of like that. So it could be a believer just not taking on his role, or it could be a non-believer. But either way, just continuing to walk with Christ and loving him and supporting him and encouraging him, you hope will have an effect eventually. Yeah. It's hard though, like you were saying, Ben, to just, I can do that for a time. And then after a while it's hard, but with the Lord, you can do all things. And in our weakness, he is made strong. I know that it's possible. I'm just speaking to the real, that it's hard, but just to continue keeping on with the Lord and loving him. And like you said, making sure that he knows that it's coming from a place of Christ love ultimately. And then, slowly I can see that he could get more and more confident the more and more he sees that you're like, I've got your back. I'm here for you.
One thing I learned in my biblical counseling training is to ask good questions. And so for me, I think if you have the courage
that's good.
to ask are you okay? What can I do to support you? Can we get 1% progress? We don't have to have an overnight change, but how can we work towards it?
Yes. That is so good.
Yeah.
Questions are so good.
Yeah. And I used to not be great at asking them, but now
look at you on the pod asking questions.
I don't know if they're great, but so this leads me to my next question, which is, if the parents are not fulfilling the roles that they should, how does this negatively affect the kids?
Okay. So I think it would cause a lot of confusion for them on what their roles are, right? So because they're looking to us to see, okay, what is mom doing? As a daughter, she's looking to me, what are you doing? As a son, he's looking to the father, what are you doing? My son's also looking at me to see what he's looking for in a spouse, and what is mom doing? And then our girls are looking at my Joe and saying, what does a father figure look like? And when you don't have that fulfilled, it's confusing on what their roles are. So I would say that is kind of how it would affect them.
Kind of setting them up for a little bit of failure for the future relationships.
So true. Very, yes.
Yeah.
Not healthy anyway, right? Not healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we know that kids, especially at a young age, it's like they're watching everything and hyper focused and hypersensitive and just watching and observing and absorbing. And they pick up really quick when mom says one thing and dad says another thing, and not even with their words, but actions. So if the husband is the word is a priority. The child sees dad praying, and sees him serving, but then none of it from his mom. They pick up on those, or vice versa, whatever it is like. They're going to pick up on those inconsistencies and know that that is not a priority for you. And I think there is something that kids feel that makes them feel very secure when they know that the man is watching over, the man is going to take care of mom. Like to see, I think it's important that my boys see me and Melissa hug and show affection towards each other. And I ask her how her day is doing, where they can hear me. Those things like that I think are very important, because it's by now I'm sure it's normal for them, that's a good thing. And not only that, when I'm not there, as I mentioned earlier, they see those things in practice by Melissa as she is walking through with them on memorizing scripture and reinforcing Bible stories. And not only that, but making the word practical of like, this is why we treat people this way. This is why we don't have the perspective of this is why we're not going to disrespect people, is because how Christ loved us, and just making it practical. She does a great job of that. And it's just all goes back to that partnership of that's your role. And they see that and they notice it.
Yeah. And even I think too, in the way we discipline them, they will see that, like if one of ours was not respecting one of us and we were both home, the other spouse would come in and say, that is not how we're going to treat, that's not how we're going to treat your dad. And the same with Monty, that's not how you're going to treat your mom. So it even comes into play in the way we discipline them, that they see it and feel it. But I'd also speak to those people out there who might be like, oh my goodness, there's no hope for me. As a husband or a wife, the beautiful thing is children are resilient. And I think that when we're honest with our children, and say, mom has messed up in my role, and God is beginning to teach me what my role looks like. And so us telling them that and saying, I'm sorry, I need Jesus too, actually creates a healthy family. It's so amazing how God is a restorer and resurrects things that weren't even there. And creates. He's so faithful, and there's encouragement always, no matter where we're at this moment.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a great point of just being transparent around kids, around your kids. And I know we've done that with our boys. It's like, yeah, we're going to get mad. Yeah, we are going to say things that we tell you not to say.
Yes,
or
exactly.
Get mad and frustrated like we're telling you not to. And in those times, it's like you said, they learn what asking for forgiveness looks like. And because I do that all the time, like I mess up all the time. And so it's good for them to know that I know that I'm messing up. So that's a great point. Glad you brought that up.
They know they don't have to be perfect.
Right.
If they only saw us never fighting, or, everything always appeared to be great, then they don't realize their own need for Jesus.
Right.
Life is messy.
It is so messy.
but there is hope.
Yes.
Because God has us.
Yes. And we live in victory.
Yes.
We do.
Already,
Sure.
but not yet.
Yeah. That's good. Okay, well, we've had so much good content that we're going to have to break this.
Mandy's fault.
I mean, hey, it's okay. I am here for it. Let's have her back next time.
I would love to come.
Got to.
We're going to have to break this into 2 parts. If you will tune in next week for part 2 of our family ministry discussion.